Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Board meeting for March 24, 2020. Certain situations we are remote. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Kammerer?
Here.
Carbonaro? Carbonaro?
He was on, I thought.
Trustee Carbonaro, are you there?
Yeah, I guess I'm unmuted now. Here.
Okay. Daney?
Present.
Cabrera?
Here.
Hopkins?
Here.
Ranky?
Here.
President Wallace?
Here. If you don't have a flag, you don't have to participate, but I do have one here, so we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will start us. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America,
To the republic.
which stands
One
One
nation.
one under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. That worked out really well. Okay, so consent agenda. All items listed on the agenda with an asterisk will be considered enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on items on the consent agenda. With that being said, is there anyone like to add or remove anything from the consent? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda that includes the following: the board and committee minutes from March 3, 2020. The consent also includes this evening the bills list from March 17, 2020. The bills or the consent agenda this evening will also include under Finance and Golf Committee, item C1, under Finance and Golf Committee, item C2. The consent will also include under Public Works Committee, items F2 and F3.
So moved.
Second.
Adam Hopkins.
Sounds like it's moved by Trustee Daney,
Right, correct.
second by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Ranky?
Yes.
Kammerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next item we have on our agenda this evening is the Treasurer's report. Mr. Treasurer?
Thank you, President Wallace. Included in your packets is the Treasurer's report for January. Also included is the sales tax report. We're showing $243,184 that was received this month. That's up $21,900 from the prior year, so almost 10%. So income sales tax is still doing well. Motor fuel tax, $180,890. So $122,000 was from the old MFT. $58,265 was from the new Transportation Renewal Fund. So that's it for the Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Next item we have on this agenda this evening is our President's report. As all of you know, last week I issued a declaration of local state of disaster, and in order to continue that declaration, we will need a motion and a second and a roll call to continue that, and it'll be in continuance until either the board decides it's no longer necessary or I decide it's no longer necessary. So I'll entertain a motion to approve that ordinance.
So moved.
Second, Trustee Carbonaro. Second,
Moved by Trustee Daney. Second by Trustee Carbonaro. And I don't know if you can read the motion, Trustee Daney.
Go ahead and read it for me, Lorna, and I'll just okay it.
Okay. It is ordinance 2020-21, an ordinance of the Village of Bartlett ratifying a declaration of local state of disaster and continuing, extending, and renewing the same pursuant to Title II, Chapter 2 of the Bartlett Municipal Code and pursuant to 65 ILCS 511-1-6.
I agree. That's the motion I made.
Okay.
All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Okay, trustee.
Second by Carbonaro.
Right. Trustee Kemmer,
Yes.
Trustee
Carbonaro,
Yes.
Daney,
Yes.
Cabrera,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Ranky.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item we have is questions. Anybody have questions for staff?
This is Trustee Danny. Yes, I have a question for Chris. It's regarding my computer screen. Chris, I can't move my computer screen. It's like locked up. The last item I can see is item F under, there it goes. Now I can see it. You're moving that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, anything else for anyone?
Well, I actually have
Okay.
a question.
Okay.
I was wondering, how is the staff, it's a two-parter, how is the staff doing? And does the staff realize just how appreciative we all are of their efforts to keep the village moving and the water going and the police on the streets?
I will respond to that. I'll take the second half of that question first. I believe that the staff does know and are feeling appreciated. I will tell you an anecdote to illustrate that. The police department, of course, is concerned. The big issue is having the masks and the gloves and the protective equipment that they need to work in the field. And we've had and sanitizing down work surfaces and cars and things like that. And the local Jewel, a Walmart in Elk Grove Village, and Dr. Durango's office all have dropped off supplies for the police department, you know, things that they've gotten in or that they don't need, in the case of the dentist's office. All those things that they have, and they've dropped them off. And so they really have, they know that people are caring, and a lot of the responses that we're seeing on social media are very supportive. So I do believe that the staff knows that. I think the staff has been really focused on delivering our services in the safest way possible to our residents and keeping the municipal staff safe within the guidelines that we've been given the last few weeks. The departments remain open and they continue to provide services in lots of creative ways. We've maximized the employees that can telework from home. And those that cannot, we've worked on skeleton crews that rotate throughout the week or the day, depending on which department they're in, and so that we have coverage for all those functions that can't be performed remotely. We are practicing those maximum social distancing areas for the employees that are at the Village Hall and at the Police Department and at Public Works and the golf course. All the departments continue to staff phones so that we can answer questions that the public might have. We're doing daily updates on social media, on those pages and on the website. Today we launched a special page for businesses related to the pandemic and with information and resources all in one place for them. Same with the Discover Bartlett posts. Those are every day for local businesses. The police department had an experiment with doing roll call using the computers and the telephone capabilities in their squad cars. They've done we've all done our staff meetings remotely through Zoom like we're doing now. We're all getting used to doing that. The Planning and Development Services Department have done Zoom calls with developers. We're one of the few towns that actually kept those meetings going. We continue plan review and issuing permits and doing inspections in the safest manner possible because all of those things have been identified. All those construction projects and things like that have been deemed essential to keep moving. So we're doing our part to keep them moving. With those businesses that haven't been identified as essential, the police department's doing extra patrols and business watches so that those businesses that are not occupied at the present time, we know that they're secure. I think finally I just want to mention Public Works. Residents will see public work trucks out in the neighborhoods, as they are responding to specific calls or checking the different facilities that we have, lift stations and et cetera. Street sweeper will be out because that's a one-man kind of vehicle. We've extended the deadline for business license renewals and liquor license renewals till June 1st. We're not doing water shutoffs, and we will not be charging late fees through April. So we've really just spent a lot of time on conference calls. I know I do at least 2 or 3 a day at various levels of government. It's the state or the county or just our other taxing districts in town, so that we're sharing information and we're all kind of on the same page. That's been really very, very helpful. Other staff have been on calls with the SBA and the other economic development agencies, Choose DuPage regionally, and the Chamber. We're really doing a lot to kind of keep everyone in the loop that we can think of and really getting all the information out that we can. And I just have been really personally very grateful for the management team, Chris and the IT staff for thinking all of these things up, and the frontline staff in particular for their hard work, their flexibility, their creativity and innovation. They've really, everyone's really stepped up. So they're working really hard and feeling appreciated.
Awesome. Awesome.
Fantastic job. I know we've been inundated with conference calls, and it seems like I get a little bit additional information on each different one that I'm on. So there's a lot of cool cooperation amongst the different county, state, and local government. Anything else anyone would like to talk to staff about? Or
This is Trustee Carpinero. I would just like to add that whether you're at work or you're not, you're still an essential worker. And because of what the police department has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, I have a list of most of the people that I know personally, or because they work for the village. I have added those people to my prayer list because I know they're out there and putting themselves in extreme danger just interfacing with people today, because there's a lot of people that don't take this very seriously. So please be well, everybody, please.
I've got something. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I want to applaud the village. I have an interesting perspective given being married to the fire chief, and I just want to applaud all of you and the fire department and the park district and the townships. And I have seen from a different perspective how all of you have been working together. And I don't know that the average resident would know that without me sharing that. You all have had many, many conversations about best practices and what you can do to support the residents, but also I know you have had conversations about what you can all do to support one another. And I think that that's tremendous. And I think intergovernmental relations are so beneficial to take care of our communities and really, truly the definition of community. So I wanted to applaud you, Paula and Chief Ulrich and anybody who's there who's been involved in those intergovernmental and Mayor and anybody who's been involved in those meetings, because I'm just so impressed that you have all rolled up your sleeves and I was going to say linked arms, but clearly we haven't done that because we participate in social distancing, and that you've worked together. So as a resident, I say thank you, and just to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, one more thing on the grant.
Thank you.
Good, absolutely. And I don't know that everybody talks to Paula often, but I think it's been, 8 o'clock on Sunday night. I think I talked to you and you're still in the office at 7 or something Friday night, and it's amazing. So we really appreciate your efforts in all of this and the staff's efforts in all of this.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions for staff? Moving on, I believe we're going to try to see if those that are on the call conference have a comments they would like to make to the board. Now is the time to do that in town hall, and we're going to request, I believe, Chris, you said they have ability to raise their hand.
Correct. They can either raise their hand or they can send the host a chat with their name and address. And then I will one by one unmute them.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to give you a few minutes because it's kind of difficult sometimes to navigate this, especially if it's the first time. So we'll give you a few minutes to and Chris, you let me know if there are any
Yes, sir.
people that want to address the board.
Chris, I do have something from Terry Witt. I don't see him in the call list, on the participant list. So if he isn't on there, he asked to read it for him.
Mr. Witt, if you're on the call, if you could, well, if you're on the call with just a phone, I suppose Lorna will just have to read it into the record.
Yeah. If that's what he requested, Lorna, you can go ahead and read it. Okay.
It's from Terry Witt. His address is 471 Southwestern Avenue. He states, as I read, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning has sent the village an IGA proposal for a bike path that has been sent to members of the bike committee individually since they have not been able to meet. My hope is they return to you a positive recommendation and that you direct the staff to prepare an acceptance agreement for a bike plan. Accepting now would give professional planners an opportunity to complete preliminary work that will be necessary for when public meetings can begin. Riding a bike is fun. My neighbors have bikes in their garages. Some say they would ride, but they're afraid to be hit by a car. I get it. I do not always get 3 feet from cars, but drivers will tell me they are afraid they'll hit me. A bike plan will get more of us out enjoying our families' safety on bicycles. Also, downtown is developing a welcoming entertainment district between Western Avenue and Main Street. I would like to suggest now moving the commuter parking at Western and Bartlett Avenue to Site E across from the Metro train. The entertainment district has made the Western Bartlett site more attractive than Site E as the apartment complex recommended in the TOD plan. It would foster finally making one metro station by paving over Site E and even building an ADA pedestrian tunnel connecting the parking lot. It could also bring us closer to becoming a bicycle-friendly community. Thank you for your time. Hope everyone gets out to take walks and rides as the currently recommended exercise. And that's it from Terry Witt.
Thank you, Lorna. Chris, is there anyone else that have raised their hands or chatted with you?
No, I have not seen any chats or hands raised, so I take that to mean that we don't have any other input.
All right. If there is anybody on the call that hasn't been able to communicate to the board through town hall, by all means, call the village, get a hold of me. We can put it out into the notes if you want to read into the notes or whatever. So, moving on. Next item on our agenda this evening is standing committee reports. First standing committee reports, Building and Zoning Committee, Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. We have nothing to report under Building and Zoning tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Community and Economic Development Committee, Chairman Gabrenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have nothing to report.
Thank you, Chairman Gabrenia. Finance and Golf Committee, Chairman Daney.
Thank you, President Wallace. The only two items we had on the agenda were covered under consent.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. License and Ordinance Committee, Chairman Ranke.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing on license and ordinance this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Ranke. Police and Health Committee, Chairman Carbonaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no open items on our agenda tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Carbonaro. Public Works Committee, Chairman Kammerer.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the haste to try to make all this work, I should have put F1 under consent, but I didn't. So we will have to go through this, I suppose. Basically, could I just go to the motion?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a motion. We'll get a second. And if anybody wants to chat about it, we can chat.
All right. I move the village board approve resolution 2020-22.
22?
A resolution approving the Second Amendment to the Sewer Service Agreement between the Village of Bartlett and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Moved by Trustee Kammerer, seconded by Trustee Daney. Is there any discussion?
This is Trustee Hopkins. Mr. Dinges, could you give us some background on this?
Sure. This is the same approval that we had in January. Unfortunately, when I sent Lorna the agenda items, I had grabbed the wrong version of the amendment. But the cover letter is the same. Basically, what this amendment does is extend the restrictor that we have in one manhole that diverts any excess flow down to us. MWRD, if you remember, allowed us to remove that restrictor, and it was due to be put back in earlier this year. But they, based on our discussions and our change of plans, they've extended leaving the restrictor out until January 1 of 2023.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Doesn't appear to be any other questions. Do we want to have a roll call on this?
Okay.
No other questions? Sorry, I was on mute. Will the clerk please call the roll? Is there any other questions first?
No.
Okay.
No.
Lorna, please call the roll.
Trustee Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Cabrera?
Yes.
Hopkins?
No.
Ranke?
Yes.
Kammerer?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, the other two items are covered under the consent agenda this evening, and that's all we have under Public Works.
Thank you, Chairman Kammerer. Any new business anyone would like to discuss?
Fucking asshole.
Well, and with that, I will let everyone know before we adjourn the meeting that directly following the committee of the whole this evening, we will be moving into executive session. The board will be moving into executive session to discuss collective negotiation matters pursuant to Section 2C2 of the Open Meetings Act. We'll also be in executive session to discuss the sale of village-owned property pursuant to Section 2C6 of the Open Meetings Act. And with that, if no one has any other questions for staff or anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have a question for staff. In light of the situation, has More Brewing reached out to you guys at all?
I know Scott had a conversation with them. Scott, how about you respond to that?
Yeah, I have spoken to them. I speak to them pretty much every day. They called and apologized and just said their timeline would be delayed. And obviously, you know, what do you say, you know? So we appreciated the correspondence and wish them luck.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Scott?
Yes? Yes?
You know, we get a lot of that specific restaurant owner or potential restaurant owner is that topic is brought up frequently on social media. Just an idea, would it, you know, I might encourage them when they're ready to do something for the public to show that they're still moving forward from their perspective. We keep telling our residents that yes, they've called us. Yes, we communicate with them. It would be great for the public to hear from them.
Yeah, we've been talking about that, and we've got some ideas. We do want them to close on the property too, as well. But you know,
yeah, for sure.
We've got some good ideas in the pipeline, and we'll share those with you when they come to fruition.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
Also, I know Lorna was kind enough to read Terry Witt's letter. Is there any way staff could kind of review that and maybe get back to us at the next meeting or send us an email to see if what he's talking about is even feasible, if it's possible? Not to dig too deep into it, but just to kind of give us an outline of kind of how his plan would work.
I take Friday off, and we can do it Friday.
Sure, we can do that.
All right, thank you so much.
Well.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
I believe it was moved by Trustee Hopkins, seconded by Trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kammerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Daney? Daney?
Yes.
Gabrenia?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes. We are adjourned.